Hello my dear children, welcome to Learner's Planet. Children, in the previous session we discussed about safety, and in this session we are going to discuss about first aid. So children, let's start with this session. Yes. Children, do you know what is meant by first aid? In general, we can say that first aid is what we do while we are waiting for the help to come. That is why it is called first aid, because it is what we do first, and what we do can be very important. So we can say, for example, if your friend has met an accident or someone collapses in front of you, then the first person there will be the first aider, or the person who will help him or her until others get there. That is why first aid is all about using our common sense in many ways that will help him or her safe without doing any harm to him or her. Right? So children, always remember that a great idea for older children and adults to do a first aid course, so that you can know that what to do to help others. Right? We should try to avoid accidents by following safety rules, what we studied in the previous session. Safety, that is safety from many things like road safety, safety from fire, etc. Right? However, if an accident still occurs, we should not get panic, because the injured people must be given first aid immediately. They need our help. So we do not need to get panic. The most important thing to remember about first aid is that we have to keep ourselves safe. That means, for example, at school, all teachers and other staff will know what to do. And in other places, you can ask an adult for help. And calling for help is the most important thing a child or children can do in an emergency. Right? So if we are going to be the one making the emergency phone call, then take a deep breath to calm down a little. Tell the operator there is an emergency. Follow all the operator's instructions carefully. Stay on the line until the operator says it's okay to hang up. If you do not know just where you are, stay on the phone and the emergency service may be able to find you. Right? So don't hang up. So the most important thing is to keep ourselves safe and to use our common sense. So always we have to look out for the danger and send for help as soon as possible. So just being there for an injured person will make that person feel better, and we will be able to say what has happened when adult or ambulance people come along, and that will be very helpful for them. Right? So this is all about first aid in general. This is the introduction. So first aid is actually given for something, like for some minor cuts and wounds. So let's study more about first aid. Yes. Finally, it is defined as the first or immediate help to an injured people, to injured people before they are taken to a hospital. Right? So our first move is the first aid for that injured person. So first aid is actually given for minor cuts and wounds that might occur while playing, as you can see in the picture. Right? While playing on the road, you can hit any vehicle, or any vehicle can hit you, or while playing in the garden or in the playground, you can get hurt if you are not taking care, or if by chance you are getting injured, then you should know what to do and what to not. Right? So there are many such instances when we have to take care of ourselves. So let's see some of the more information about first aid that we should keep in mind. Yes. First aid for burns. Children, in case of minor burns, means very small burns, cold water or ice may be applied on the burnt area immediately, and the burnt area should be held under running water for some time, right? Or we can also say that if any chemical burn happens, then use a cloth or brush to brush off any chemical on the skin. Do not use your bare hands for this thing. Always wear gloves or something which act as a precaution. Then wash the burned area with lots of cold water, then get help. And that is in case of minor burns, cold water or ice is very much helpful. So we should use them. And the burnt area should be held under running water as we discussed. After that, you can also do one more thing. You can see here in this picture, they are placing their injured hand or wounded hand under running water. So you should always remember this. We should always remember more things. Let's discuss about it. Yes, an antiseptic cream or a paste of baking soda and water should also be applied on the burn after we have removed our hand from the running water. And if the burn is very severe, a doctor must be called immediately. And always remember that you do not try to prick any of the blister if it is formed. Blister means it is a small pocket of fluid which is present in the upper layer of the skin. So always remember that we should not try to prick any blister if it forms while accident. Alright, and if the burn is severe. Alright, so it is important to cool the burn for at least 20 minutes to stop the damage to the tissue which is present under the skin. Alright, so I hope you are clear with this. Now one more thing that you should take care while any electrical burns also happen. This too we discussed about chemical burns, and now we will discuss about electrical burns. So do not touch the person until you know that the power is off. That is the electrical power. And turn off the power using a wooden object or any broom's handle, because broom's handle is also made up of wood, right? Or we can say that it is not made up of wood, but that portion of the broom's handle is actually not a good conductor of heat, so electric current cannot pass through it. If your house has a special safety switch, then it will have already switched off the power, but still we should use a wooden object to switch off the power. And wash the burnt area with lots of cold water again if any electrical burns happen, right? And if a large area of your skin is sunburnt, then cool it down with a wet, cool cloth. And ask your parents to get some special type of cream, that is an antiseptic cream from the chemist, and put it on the burnt area so it will heal faster. And if you have a lot of pain or you feel sick because of sunburn, you will need to go to the doctor for help immediately, right? So these are some of the very important points that you have to keep in mind while suffering from any burn. So this is the first aid for burns. Now let's switch on to the next topic, and that is first aid for fractures. Alright students, first of all we should know that what is meant by a fracture. Yes, a break or a crack in a bone is called a fracture. And in case of a fracture, it must be ensured that the fractured part is tied with a straight object, right? As you know children, that bones are living things. So if they are broken, they will leak out blood into the surrounding tissue, and large bones can leak out a lot of blood, and they can cause lot of swelling around the injury, right? So we have to take care that it must be tied with a straight object. Now what else can happen if a fracture happens, right? The harder children play, the harder they fall, right? And this is the fact that the bones get broken down if not taken care while playing, right? So the fact is, broken bones or fractures are very common in childhood, and it often happens when children are playing or participating in sports. That doesn't mean that you don't have to participate in sports. You can participate, but do take care that what we have to do, right? So precautions must be taken. So most of the fractures occur in upper extremities, that is in the wrist. Upper extremities means the upper part of the body, that is the wrist. Then it can also occur in the forearm. Then it can also occur in the elbow, right? So most of the fractures occur in upper extremities, that is the wrist, the forearm and the elbow. So when children fall, it's a natural instinct for them to throw their hands out in an attempt to stop the fall, right? For example, if the fracture is in the hand, then what we have to do? Let's discuss about it. Yes. For example, if there is a fracture in the hand, then a cloth sling can be used to prevent the movement, right? So always remember that if there is a fracture in the hand, a cloth sling can be used, and the patient must be taken to the hospital immediately. Alright? Because the worst thing for a broken bone is to move it, and this hurts the patient a lot, and it can make the injury worse. So the patient must be taken to the hospital immediately. Alright? So I hope you are clear with this topic also. Let's move on to the next topic. Yes. And the next topic is first aid for the animal bites. Children, the most common animal bites are caused by the pets such as cats and dogs and even other animals. So animal bites can cause a deadly disease called rabies, right? And the risk of rabies is high if bitten by stray animals or the street animals which are not trained and which are not hygienic. Sorry, we can say hygienic, but they are the street dogs, right? So animals can be great fun, but it's important to know that how to be safe when we are with them. So both indoor and outdoor animals need to be treated kindly all the time. This means different things depend upon the animal and the situation. So with an animal, being kind may mean staying far away, so the animal does not feel threatened, and so we can stay safe. So if we are bitten or scratched by an animal, then tell an adult immediately, and tell the known adult everything you know about the animal that hurted you, right? Stepping outside can mean a world full of great animals to see, from squirrels in trees to birds in flight. And in some parts of the world, children may see snakes, black bats, etc. So the rule in the great outdoor is don't touch or go near an animal or wild animal, right? Even it is domestic or wild animal. Although some of the animals may look cool or even cute, but leave them alone. These animals are not like regular pets. They are not used to being around people, and that is why they are kept in zoo, right? So always remember that do not go near the animal when you are visiting zoo or some national park or sanctuary, right? Because they are not used to being around people, and they may bite or attack if we come near them or if we go near them. They might have rabies, right? So this can cause rabies, and as you know that risk of rabies is very high amongst people. So don't ever try to feed a wild animal, because the most common animal bites are caused by these animals only, the wild animals, and the dogs and cats also, right? So always remember that what we have to do in case of an animal bite. Let's discuss about it. As you can see in the picture, when an animal bites, you can keep the injured part under the running water. And what other things you can do? Yes, in case of an animal bite, wound should be washed with soap and water first, then antiseptic cream should be applied on the wound, and wound should be covered with a clean bandage. And you should always remember that you should keep it under running water for some time, so that your wound can be cooled down, or your burn can be cooled down. We cannot say burn, but it is a type of injury or a wound happened. So always remember that the patient should be taken to the doctor immediately, and a person bitten by a poisonous snake must be rushed to the hospital immediately. Alright, so let's see some other points also about this first aid. Yes, as we discussed that a person bitten by poisonous snake should be rushed to the hospital immediately. A tight bandage can be tied between the wound and the heart to slow down the spread of the poison in the body. And for bee and wasp stings, a paste of baking soda and antiseptic cream should be applied, as you can see here in the picture. Right? So save your love, that is, save your love for animals, for your own dogs and cats, and you know that they will love you back. But do keep in mind some of the points for this while an animal bites. Right? Now let's move on to another topic of first aid. Yes, first aid for poisoning. Children, if a person is not careful, there are many sources of poisoning from the items like medicines, harmful medicines, detergents, phenyl, naphthalene balls which are kept in cloths. Right? You can ask your mother why she is keeping such naphthalene balls in between the cloths. Yes, then insecticides, then paints, etc. that he or she can suffer from. Right? So if a person is not careful, there are many sources from which he or she can suffer from. Right? Because poisons are the substances that can cause injury, illness or death. Right? So these events are caused by a chemical activity going on in the cells. Right? So because of this, poisoning can happen in our cells. And poisons can be even injected, or it can be inhaled, or it can be swallowed. Right? So always remember that first aid is very critical in saving the life of the victim. Remember that a person can suffer from many things or many diseases if poisoning occurs in the body, or if the poison spreads in the body. So there are some steps which we should take care of. Let's see some of the symptoms if a person suffers from this kind of poisoning. Yes, poisoning can cause a person to feel tired, having blue lips, skin rashes, difficulty in breathing, headache, fever, weakness, numbness. Then what else can happen? Diarrhea, vomiting, loss of consciousness, chest pain, etc. So all these symptoms can happen if a person is suffering from poison, or any poison has been inhaled or injected or swallowed by mistake, or if by chance by a person. Right? So in case of poisoning, the victim should be carried to a comfortable place and avoid crowding around him or her. Right? And do not get panic. And we should check if he or she is breathing properly or not, and a doctor should be informed immediately for this. Right? So always remember that poisoning should be suspected if a person is sick for unknown reason. Right? So we can save the person. And always remember that precaution is better than cure. Alright? So I hope that you enjoyed this session and learned many things about first aid. Alright, so always take care of yourselves and keep all the important points in the mind about safety and first aid. Right? So we will meet in the next session with the new lesson. Till then, keep learning, keep enjoying, children. Thank you.